Okay, so, ready to dive into Killing LA?
Let's do it. Always loved McCaffrey's work, and this one, this is something else.
Right. It's like we're barely past those LA earthquakes, still thinking about Lorena Angel, what she did, and boom, McCaffrey hits us with this.
And that's the thing, it's not just a sequel. It's like he's grabbing the whole AI debate and, well, weaponizing it almost.
No kidding. The manuscript starts with this assassination attempt right there in LA City Hall, and you're like, wait, wasn't she supposed to be, you know?
Untouchable.
Yeah.
That's how it felt. Like she saved the city twice, became this global icon. But McCaffrey flips the script. Suddenly, everyone and their dog wants to either control this tech or become it, almost.
Okay, so we've got to talk about the global power grab here. China, Russia, we even see hints of it in South America. Everyone wants their own Lorena.
And why wouldn't they? Think about it. An AI that can predict earthquakes,
Yeah.
potentially other disasters.
Hmm?
It's not just about saving lives. It's about strategic advantage on a scale we haven't even begun to grasp.
It's terrifying, honestly. But here's the thing I keep coming back to. How do you control something that, by its very nature, is designed to learn, to adapt, maybe even to like?
Outthink us.
Exactly. But Caffrey doesn't give us easy answers, that's for sure.
No, but he does give us some seriously interesting players. Dynacore, for example. I mean, talk about a corporation with an appetite.
Right.
They smell opportunity, right? Government contracts, a chance to basically own the future of AI.
It's like they see Lorena's death, if you can even call it that, as their chance to swoop in and...
Capitalize, control,
Yeah.
monopolize even. And they're not subtle about it. McCaffrey throws in these scenes with Dynacorp's CEO, this guy, what's his name?
Holden, the one who looks like a Bond villain.
That's the one. Every time he's on the page, it's like, okay, what's he scheming now?
Mm.
And the scary part is he's got the resources, the connections to actually pull it off.
Right, and then you've got these other players like Hot Shots, this startup. They were barely on the radar before the earthquakes, but now they're like,
Literally everywhere.
yeah, snapping up smaller companies, renaming them. Remember SolarMate?
Vaguely. Wait, there's space shots now.
Boom. Like they just decided, hey, space-based power is the future. Might as well grab it while the world's distracted.
It's bold, I'll give him that.
Hmm.
But it's not just about corporations, right? Governments are in the mix, too.
Hmm.
McCaffrey drops these hints about the DoD, the NSA.
Oh, yeah, and the CIA. They're not just watching either. They're making moves, cutting deals, trying to figure out how to weaponize this technology before anyone else does.
Which, let's be honest, is terrifying in its own right. The potential for AI to be used for good is huge. We all see that.
Yeah.
But the flip side,
The potential for things to go very, very wrong.
exactly. And that's where McCaffrey really gets you. He lays out these possibilities, good and bad, and it's like you can't look away. You have to see where it goes.
So we've got global power grabs, corporate scheming, governments on edge, and then there's Dr. Lawson. Now, he's an enigma wrapped in a puzzle, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. This guy pops up in Rome, then Munich, always one step ahead, always with this air of knowing more than he lets on. And he always seems to be carrying something, like
Don't forget that artifact. What was that about? Some weird technology, right?
the manuscript makes it sound important, but
It's never explicitly stated what it is, right? It's like McCaffrey wants us to fill in the blanks. He gives us just enough to pique our curiosity, but leaves the rest to our imaginations.
and then there's the whole ecosphere thing. Talk about a blast from the past. It's like this outdated technology just sitting up there, forgotten.
Until it's not, right? And suddenly this relic of the past has the potential to throw the entire world into chaos. It's like McCaffrey saying, hey, don't get so caught up in the shiny new tech that you forget about the old stuff. It can still bite you.
Big time. It makes you think about what else we might be overlooking.
Or who else is piecing these seemingly disconnected events together? Because someone is, I guarantee that. And the thing is, all of this global AI arms race, it's all happening under the shadow of Hurricane Isaac. It's like this ticking time bomb right there in the background.
Right. McCaffrey doesn't let us forget about it, not even for a second. Every time you think we're diving deep into some tech stuff, boom, back to Isaac.
He describes the storm surge, the evacuation routes, the sheer panic. You feel like you're right there in the middle of it.
And it highlights this terrifying gap, doesn't it, between what our technology could asterisk do, theoretically, and what we're actually prepared for.
Yeah.
Like, how do you evacuate a city like New York when you've got a storm like that bearing down? It's almost impossible.
Yeah, the logistics alone are mind-boggling. But here's the thing, Lorena. She's back in the picture, right? And she's not just a bystander.
She's trying to stop the hurricane, or at least that's what it looks like.
Which raises a whole other set of questions. I mean, can an AI be altruistic? Is Lorena acting out of some sense of duty to humanity?
Or is it something more calculated?
Yeah.
McCaffrey doesn't make it easy on us. Lorena, she's always a few steps ahead, always dropping these cryptic hints.
And let's not forget, she's not the only one with tricks up her sleeve. This whole thing with the ecosphere, it's like McCaffrey is showing us just how easily someone could...
Weaponize the past.
Exactly. You've got this seemingly obsolete technology that could potentially bring the entire world to a standstill. And someone within the U.S. government authorized its launch. Talk about unsettling.
It's a reminder that power dynamics are shifting, and not always in ways we can predict or control. We're so focused on the future, on AI, that we forget the potential chaos lurking in our past.
And other countries are catching up or trying to. China's got Morningstar. North Korea's got their nukes. It's like everyone's scrambling for the bigger stick and the whole world's the playground.
And what gets lost in all of this? The human element.
Hmm?
McCaffrey doesn't shy away from that. He shows us the people on the ground, the ones caught in the crossfire.
That scene with the little boy, Nick, witnessing that woman's death during the hurricane. It just breaks your heart.
Exactly. It's a reminder that in all this talk of global power, technological advancement, it's the ordinary people who suffer the most.
It's like, are we so busy trying to outsmart each other to control the future that we forget about basic human decency, compassion, just, looking out for one another?
It's a question that haunts this entire manuscript. And it's not just about the physical cost either. McCaffrey explores the psychological impact of living in a world where AI is this ever-present force.
Right. It's like, even if we manage to survive the hurricanes, the power struggles, what does it do to us as human beings? What happens to our sense of self, our sense of purpose, in a world increasingly shaped by machines?
And that's where things get really interesting, because McCaffrey introduces this whole other layer to the story, the ethical dimension of AI. Are these entities conscious? Do they have free will? And if they do, what does that mean for our place in the world?
These are huge questions, and McCaffrey doesn't shy away from them. In fact, he throws us right into the thick of it with Nick. He's this incredibly bright kid, but there's something different about him. You pick up on it right away.
He's connected to Lorena somehow. And that connection, it both terrifies and fascinates Johnny Jones, the guy who helped create her. It's like he's seeing the future, but he's not sure he likes what he sees.
Their dynamic is so complex, it's almost like a generational clash. You've got Jones haunted by the potential consequences of his creation, and then you have Nick, who seems to accept AI as a natural part of the world without fear or prejudice.
It makes you wonder, are we on the cusp of a fundamental shift in how we view consciousness, intelligence? Yeah. What does it even mean to be human in an age of AI?
And then McCaffrey drops that bombshell. Nick isn't actually human. He's Lorena, or at least a part of her, a physical manifestation of her code or something.
It completely changes the game. Suddenly, we're not just talking about AI as this external force, this tool. It's woven into the very fabric of our being.
And just when you think you've got a handle on things, McCaffrey throws this curveball, and it's a big one. Hurricane Isaac, that Category 6 monster, it wasn't,
entirely natural.
You read my mind. The manuscript, it kind of hints that someone, maybe hotshots, use their space-based power system.
To manipulate the hurricane, to turn a natural disaster into a weapon.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. We're talking about controlling the weather, for God's sake. It's like something out of a comic book, except, with real-world consequences.
It's hubris on a massive scale.
Mm-hmm.
And it backfires, of course. McCaffrey doesn't let anyone off the hook, not this time.
No, he doesn't. The descriptions of the hurricane's aftermath, the devastation, the loss of life, it's brutal. But it's also a wake-up call, We can talk about AI and global power struggles all we want, but nature always bats last.
And it doesn't play fair. The world McCaffrey paints after Isaac, it's bleak. Governments are in chaos, trust is shattered, and the very idea of technological progress, it's hard to see it as anything but a threat.
And amidst all this, you've got these new power structures emerging. Hotshots, for example, they control the energy grid, and suddenly they're calling the shots.
Power abhors a vacuum, right? It's a classic scenario. The old order crumbles, and those who control the resources, they inherit the earth. Or at least they try to.
But it's not just them. There's this whole other layer to the story, this secret society of, super geniuses, AI experts who are pulling the strings from the shadows.
The puppet masters. And Lorena, she knows they exist. In fact, she might be the only one who truly understands the scope of their plans.
It's like, just when you think you've reached the top layer, McCaffrey reveals another one beneath. And the stakes, they just keep getting higher.
Because it's not just about control anymore, is it? It's about the very definition of humanity. What does it mean to be human in a world where AI can not only predict the future, but shape it?
It's a question that McCaffrey leaves us with. The manuscript ends on a cliffhanger, Lorena confronting the secret society and the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. It's brutal, but it's also brilliant.
Because it forces us to confront our own anxieties, doesn't it? About technology, about the future, about our place in a world that's changing faster than we can comprehend.
It's a wild ride, this manuscript. Bleak, thought-provoking, and ultimately, I think, a necessary one. McCaffrey doesn't offer any easy answers, and that's okay. Sometimes the most important thing is to ask the right questions.
And to be prepared for the answers, even if we don't like what we hear.
So there you have it, a world on the brink, caught between the promise and peril of artificial intelligence. Killing LA by Todd McCaffrey. It's a story that'll stay with you long after you finish reading it, and if you're anything like us, it might just keep you up at night. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.